That's okay.
Welcome to Clutch Kick.
The best of us.
This is an informational video, so we're going to show you how to do an oil change today. This is our 1991 Toyota MR-2 Turbo. This stuff applies to all makes and models.
Yeah,
so
it does.
if you're
Absolutely
doing
right.
your oil change on a Pontiac Grand Prix or a Toyota Camry or maybe a Lamborghini, this should all apply as well.
I wonder if Lamborghini owners can do that on their own car.
Oh, they got a guy for that.
Yeah.
They got a guy.
Probably not.
So we're going to get started. We're going to show you what you need to do it. We're going to show you the tools, how to get the car up in the air, secure it, do the oil change, get it back down to the ground, check it, make sure you have enough oil in the car, and then we're going to take the car for a quick spin.
Yeah. We're going to need a funnel to pour the oil in the... Here we go. Funnel. Cool. We're going to need a drain pan. Perfect. Drain pan. We're going to need the oil filter. Oil filter. We're going to need oil. Here we go. Oil. We need... What else do we need? Probably some sockets. We're going to need sockets. Sockets. And I think lastly we're going to need probably a socket wrench. And then probably some paper balls. And look at that.
Step one, got to get jacked up.
There you have it.
How are we going to do it, Chris?
Where's the jacking point on this car?
All right, so this car is mid-engine.
Yeah.
So there's going to be essentially a K-member underneath the engine like you find in the front of every car. And it's going to be kind of a good structural lifting point for this car specifically. Consult your owner's manual or the forums to try and find the good place to jack your car up.
Yeah, it's gonna be probably a little bit different for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that K member. We really don't need it to be too high. Just high enough to be able to be comfortably under the car.
Probably somewhere around here. You want to slide that one in there?
I guess.
That's fine. Alright. Alright. Now we're just going to slowly drop the car down onto the deck.
Make sure you're not under the car when you throw it.
Be completely clear. Slowly ease yourself down. Now, here's a really important step to this whole process.
Alright, let's hear what the important stuff is.
Nobody wants to die, and if you do, consult a physician. Get next to the car, just rock it a little bit.
Yeah, give it a little jiggle.
Because if you bump this while you're underneath it, it's nice to know that it isn't going to fall on your face.
You're absolutely right.
So, next step, we're just going to get underneath the car with the drain pan. Oh, I lied. Chris, that's not the next step.
That's not. What is the next step, Phil?
We're going to want to just take the oil fill cap loose.
Now, why do we need to do that?
Because this thing seals. And when that oil starts coming out, you're going to get a little bit of a vacuum effect. And you're going to be sitting there waiting on oil to drain forever. So,
Right.
be quick, be easy, be efficient, work smarter, not harder.
Yes. Okay.
Okie dokie. So this is our oil drain plug right here. You can see our drain pan behind me. In my hand, I have a 14 millimeter socket attached to a 3/4 or 1/2 inch drive socket wrench. And I'm just going to reach around here. Maybe doing this upside down is kind of a pain in the beehag. Make sure we're going the right way here. And not that way.
And so, Phil, we're going to have to just
Yep.
be aware of where the drain is, the drain pan is.
Yeah, I just, oh shit. So, what I did was I just cracked it loose so it's kind of finger tight now.
Yep.
Adjust the drain pan like so. And I'm just going to unscrew this little thing with my fingers. And just for viewers' sake, we're not sure how much oil is going to come out of this thing.
Yeah, we don't know. So
this
just...
car has been sitting for about 2.5 years. The bottom side looks pretty clean, but I don't know. Something tells me we're not going to end up with a fantastic amount of oil.
Look at this.
So, one of the first things you want to look at on these drain pans. Here, pan over here, Chris.
Oh, sorry. I was focused on the
that's right.
how satisfying the oil drain was.
Can you focus in on the end of that?
Yep.
So,
okay.
is most of these drain plugs have magnets in the bottoms of them. So when these cars run, they're made to pick up any metal fragments that are in the oil itself.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you change your oil, you just want to give it a visual inspection, make sure that there's no metal on the end of it.
Right. So how does that one look?
Everything looks pretty solid.
Pretty decent?
It's not uncommon to see like little tiny bits of metal in there.
Yeah.
Because the bearings do wear, especially on high mileage motors.
Right.
But in this case, we're pretty good. It actually looks like this oil may have been changed pretty recently. And the other thing we're going to do is make sure that this plug is actually in the up position. It is.
Oh, yeah, so it actually, like,
Drains.
Drains. Yeah, that's important.
We're going to actually do this too.
Cool. Well,
That's going to do its thing.
and it looks clean. The oil is completely black. It looks pretty decently clean.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Don't be worried if your oil is dark. There's detergents built into motor oil to clean things inside of there. So it's actually made to go darker in time. So we're just going to let this do its thing. And it's also important that the car's a little bit warm when you're doing this.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
we started it up, just let it run for a couple minutes before we started doing this oil change. And that just makes the oil
a little bit softer,
a little bit thinner.
I guess. Thinner?
Yeah.
Thinner.
So it'll come out a little bit quicker. So we're just going to, and completely, it'll come out more completely. So we're just going to let this do its thing, and we'll pick it back up when it's all done.
Yep.
All right, so as you can see, our oil is just about done, dripping off the pan here. So all we're going to do is get underneath here, drop our plug back in, get it just kind of finger tight. Stop the flow of oil. And these oil drain plugs have very fine threads on them. So if it's giving you any kind of resistance, stop, because you're probably cross-threaded or there may be some crud
Yep.
in the plug itself. We're going to push this out of the way now.
Well, don't push it too far because we still have to do the oil filter.
We're probably going to pull that with a rag.
Okay.
There's my socket underneath here. Yep. Going to get underneath here with my socket now. And just tighten her on it.
And really only need to go, you know, like a quarter turn past tight on these things.
Yeah.
You can
You don't want to booger up the actual threads or the drain pan itself. Oh, I'm sorry, the oil pan itself. So, just got it nice and snug.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there is the turbo, and voila, oil filter.
There she
Boom.
blows. All of her glory.
Yep.
So, thankfully, this one is
Centimeters away from the downpipe of the turbo.
That stuff doesn't get hot. Not in this car. You know, the French term, lavage. There we go.
In this episode of Phil Manhandles Oil Filter,
But you
he's gotten it. He's gotten it undone. Oil is leaking everywhere.
is it?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, that'd be crazy. He thinks he's funny, everybody. All right, what you're going to want to do when you take this off is get
Is
it
be
all
quick.
over the turbo.
Actually, he's kidding. Don't actually do that.
Oh, there wasn't anything in it.
Oh, perfect.
Strange.
Well, actually, let's think about that, right? You know, the oil filter's upside down. We drain the oil. So
How does gravity work?
gravity.
9.8 meters per second squared, everybody, of hot 10W30 coming piping out of this airplane.
That's exactly right. I can't believe you got that off. That was great.
You know, once I got a clean PT on there,
Boom.
high quality oil filters by Supertech.
They're not
You know-
paying us, by the way.
You know, in all reality, we're using a cheap oil and filter right now because we're not sure of the health of this engine right now, and I'm pretty sure it's going to need an oil change again in the next probably 500 or 600 miles after we get done messing around with it. So instead of spending $45 on synthetic oil and a $30 filter that probably doesn't do anything else, we're going to put some cheap stuff in it, get it up running, kind of figure out what quantity we're working with here, and go from there. Interestingly, what you normally do here, if you have an oil filter on the bottom of your engine, is a lot of people will fill the filter with oil beforehand. we were actually just talking about this. This isn't something you have to do, but it doesn't hurt. The other thing you're going to want to do is just get a little bit of oil on your finger, and this you do need to do, is just go around this gasket, because what will happen is if this is dry and you go up to the mating surface and turn it, or turn it that way, this gasket right here can get tweaked, potentially block some of these passageways, nuke your engine, or it could kink out of the way and you can spray oil out of the side of it, also nuking your engine. So pretty important to make sure that oil is there.
And it also helps in actually sealing the surface too.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here is we have some 10W30. We're in Georgia. It's kind of cold right now. During the summertime, you might put something a little bit thicker in here. Really, probably 530 would probably be the right weight right now. But I think Walmart was out of it. It's not going to hurt it. Just let the car warm up properly in the mornings, and you're good to go. Pull this off of here. So all we're going to do is pull this off of here. Use a knife or similar tool to pull the seal off of this. Do your best not to get any of the crap that's like, what even? This is why you buy good oil. Like,
it's what is the saying about eating dirt? Never hurts you. That's the same thing with plastic in your engine. It's okay.
Excellent for it. It's good for bearing life, performance, adds compression. This is like
that's compression. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So
this is how you throw flames out of your exhaust pipe.
So we're quite literally just going to stick our finger in here, grab a little bit of oil,
and boom. Give a little
light layer here. We don't want to glop it on there. No glopping here, boys.
Yeah, don't glop.
Wipe your finger
in
off.
any aspect of your life.
Now we're just going to reach down back in here, find the oil filter thing, and turn it on. Now, once again, like the drain plug, these have very fine threads on it. This should not be something you have to force on.
No, if you're forcing it, you're doing something wrong.
Just like in relationships, boys. Don't force anything.
Don't force it. It needs to be
organic.
Organic, that's exactly right.
We're just going to take the top, get it nice and hand tight.
Yeah.
We don't want to over tight. You see my hand starting to shake there?
Yeah.
That
means
the right amount of torque.
That means you're done.
All right, so to recap, we have a new filter on there with a lubricated gasket. We have a Titan drain plug and a drain sump. So what's next?
The oil.
We'll throw some oil. So as you may remember, we pulled our oil cap earlier. It is right there on this engine.
I'm gonna have to probably come around.
Yeah, bring it on. This is it's just kind of a long filter. Pick this up at Walmart too. Get it to a point where it's not going to move around, and turn her in.
Now this is the most exciting part of the.
And I also learned recently that turning these on their side lets them vent properly. The actual
the actual bottle.
Yeah. Don't turn the funnel on its side. You said this thing takes 4 quarts?
4 quarts.
Okay, so hold this. Alright, hang back up to me for a second.
Yep.
Alright, so always important is oil capacity. You don't want to overfill or underfill. Overfilling can be just as detrimental to the engine health as underfilling. So on the side of most of these bottles, you're going to have a marker. This is a 5-quart bottle total, and this engine is a 4-quart sump.
So we're see these lines very well. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So we're going to want to get it down to right there. And then we're going to check it with the dipstick, make sure everything's kosher, and go from there. So
cool.
How much do we have left here? Probably about another 2 quarts.
Cool.
Just give her a little splash here. Safekeeping.
A little bit more for good luck.
That should get us right to our 4-quart line.
And
see, almost right on the money.
Just like that. Right
So, finally, we're going to let this settle just for a second. Make sure all the oil is down into the sump. And then we're going to check the oil.
Well, how do you do that? How do you check the oil?
Well, Chris, I'll tell you. And viewers, I'll be right there with you. Most cars, if not all, have an oil dipstick. I can find somewhere to put this light. I guess I'm not going to need that.
I'll actually come around this way so we can see where the dipstick location is on the 3S GTE.
So, that little yellow stick right there that we're seeing,
Yep.
That's going to be our dipstick. And I know what you're thinking, guys. I thought Chris was the dipstick. No? Well, he is. But we're just going to pull this bad boy out. Try to loop her around here. And then check her out.
And what do we look at?
Well, I'm going to re-dip it too. Okay. It looked like we were good, but double check here. It's always a good idea when you are checking your oil. Pull the dipstick out once, clean it. Drop it back in all the way, and pull it right back out. Alright, looks like we are good to go. Now this is going to be almost impossible to see because this oil is brand new.
Right.
But see, we're dry. And then when we get to the end here,
I wonder if I can actually focus on this.
let me stop shaking for a second.
No.
No?
The answer is no.
Well, you can take our word for it.
Just take our word for it. Look at the line.
We're dry all the way to there. Then when I get that, there's see how my thumb's wet now?
Yep.
That's oil.
And there we go, people.
We're going to drop her back in, and we'll show you the next step in just a second.
All right, people. So because we didn't fill the oil filter with any oil prior to, what we're going to want to do is cycle the engine and fill the oil with, or fill the engine, all the galleys, and the oil filter with oil. So what we're going to do is prime the engine, right? And especially this is important for turbo cars because we want to cycle the oil through the oil-cooled turbo, which I think that's a thing on this car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what we're going to do is pull the fuel pump fuse, which is on this particular car, it's the EFI fuse. I don't know if you can really see that, but just a 15 amp fuse. So we're going to pull that, and then we're also going to pull the power to the coil, which on this particular car, the coil resides right here. And taking this out just will disconnect any power to the coil. So now we will have no spark and no fuel, and we will be able to start or turn the engine over and cycle oil through it without dumping a bunch of fuel into the engine.
Car has an impressively short throw shifter. I think that's in gear.
Is it?
Move it side to side. Okay. Put your foot on the brake. Just for
just for funsies. Make sure everything's okay. All right.
Now we're going to prime it for 10 seconds. Alright, so that should be enough time for the engine to get oil pressure.
Yeah, we should do it just once more,
Okay.
just to play it safe. There's a lot of extra oil passages with the turbo and everything. Cool.
Alright.
Well, I'll call that prime.
Alright. So, Chris is going to get back out of the car here.
So now the only thing we're going to do is put the fuse back in the fuse location, which, yeah.
Pretty easy.
So, yeah, the EFI fuse location is right here. And then let's get this coil wire plugged back in.
And these things can be kind of stubborn sometimes, but...
Yeah, especially with older cars, it's really important to be aware of the old...
give it a firm push.
Yeah. I don't know that this was sitting correctly in there. All of these plugs are, 20 years old, so it's important to
No, you had it right.
be aware that they're brittle.
A little bit of a...
Okay. Well,
Is it on there?
it feels like it's pulling out. It doesn't feel like it's actually connected in there nicely, but
All right,
let's give it a whack and see what
try and
happens.
fire her up. Hang on.
We're good?
As good as we'll ever be. Is it in gear?
It is not here.
Put your foot on the clutch.
All right, people. So that is how you're going to do an oil change on this particular car, but in general, that's basically all you need to do an oil change on any car. Yeah, that concludes the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative, and there's going to be a lot more where it came from. So stick around and hang out with us. And have any other remarks, comments, concerns?
I'm trying to go drive it.
Let's go drive.